Nisha's name is on the line. To me, that's very, very important that we're selling quality products, especially something that we've got our hands into and gotten our hands dirty.
When you're dealing with older homes, it's also unfair for us to catch everything. You're not building this house from scratch.
I was 14, Dad passed away, so I stepped up in the plumbing company, took care of one of my sisters.
How did your dad pass away? Hi everyone, welcome to The Balanced Broker. This is episode 8 and we have our beautiful sister from another Mr. here, Treva Walters. She is not only one of the most important key components to the success of Niche Real Estate Group. We've used Treva to help us with all things construction. She also works with me on most of the renovations. She's our general contractor. But more importantly, she is our best friend.
Yes, she is.
So welcome. So we wanted to bring you onto the show because you are such a huge part of everything we do on a daily basis in real estate. I call you our general contractor, okay? But you're so much more than our general contractor. You are our resident construction expert. And more than that, you're like a sister to us. She's like my best friend. And like our best friend. Like I honestly don't have a lot of girlfriends, you know. I have a lot of girlfriends, but I don't have girlfriends who I spend a whole lot of time with.
You don't have girlfriends that you stay up till 2 a.m. singing karaoke?
Exactly. But with you, I feel like I can call you and be like, what the hell are these crazy ass people saying in politics? You know, and we can talk about politics. We can talk about your crazy family, my crazy family.
Nadia.
We can talk about Nadia. Because you're kind of a hippie, but you are so you're so intelligent.
Yes,
you're so
very
smart. You're so wise when it comes to the construction aspect, but just life in general, and also the real estate side, which I think is what a lot of people in construction only. That's what they lack. They don't understand the sale from the beginning. When we acquire a property, we go in to renovate it. And then we start doing showings, we get it under contract, we close it out. And then even after the closing, you are that person who takes us through all the way through, and you're so awesome and reliable and you stick with us all the way through. We've just never had that before. So we love you.
All that knowledge came from trial and error with y'all.
Yeah, actually it's true because I feel like you've gotten even better. So you had the comprehensive construction knowledge already because of how, you know, we'll talk a little bit more about like,
well, tell us about your background.
And your background, but it's just the experiences that we've undergone and the amount of homes that we've renovated and then we started building. You always knew exactly what these guys were talking about. And construction, let's be real, it's a completely different language. Mm-hmm. I mean,
a lot of Spanish.
Yeah. But yeah, it's really funny though watching you speak French. It's just really cute.
And now apparently what, Chinese now?
Yeah, the other day we brought in a Chinese electrician and the guy kept asking questions and talking about, what was he talking about all the time?
Oh, I kept telling him, okay, we need a sconce here and a sconce here. He said, so junction box. No,
and then,
not a junction box,
Treva kept going, see.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, you know, the man's Chinese.
And I'm like, I just barely got to where I can speak a little bit of Spanish. Let's not bring another language into this, please.
It was awesome.
Oh my gosh.
Anyways, yes, but please tell us a little bit about how you got into construction, who you are.
I was always in construction. So my dad was a single father, master electrician. And then whenever the Gulf War happened, we moved to Texas for him to take over the family plumbing company. We literally moved into the plumbing company until we found a house here. Like, came in a truck, that's all we had. So
wait, you lived in the plumbing?
We lived in the plumbing
company, like a building?
Like on Jupiter and Garland Road. Oh. There was a kitchenette, a laundry. There was a little office that we made into a bedroom. So me, my sisters, my dad, we stayed there about 6 months, I'd say, before we found a house. Being a single father, he was very, very cheap. So
my husband's not a single father. He's still very, very cheap.
So he found out that
I know some cheap single fathers.
Ponchos, kids eat free, right? If you buy an adult entree. For 1 year, every night we ate ponchos for dinner.
Aww.
It was horrible. So
With ponchos, is that like, what kind of food is that?
it's a Mexican buffet. You've never heard of ponchos? You raise
I'm
the
not from
flag.
here. I'm not from here. You raise a flag?
You raise a flag, and they bring you more food. And
I've heard of CC's Pizza. That's our, like, when we want to just get the kids fed.
yeah, that's just as horrible. It's the same thing.
Okay.
So
So you lived in a plumbing.
right.
Yeah.
So around 8 years old, I started answering phones. Writing invoices, proposals, stuff like that. Whenever I was 14, my dad passed away, so I stepped up in the plumbing company, took care of one of my sisters. My mom got one sister, I got one sister. So I enrolled in a Christian academy so that I could do my schoolwork without actually going to school. So I just stopped by there, turn in my work, go to my first job, which was at a hair salon, and I was the receptionist at the hair salon. And then after that would close down about 8 o'clock, I would drive to the plumbing company, do all the books, the proposals for tomorrow, line the guys out.
You were 14 years old.
Yeah, 14. Did not have a driver's license. Yeah, I drove on a phone book. I couldn't reach the pedals. So I drove back and forth. My dad's stick shift, 86 Nova, and
How did your dad pass away?
Hodgkin's lymphoma.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so a byproduct of Roundup.
Yeah.
He's a Roundup working for the city. He used to work for Oklahoma City doing roads and maintenance, and they would go around all the signs and everything, spray Roundup. So he had his first round of cancer at 32 years old, and I don't ever remember. One was non-Hodgkin's lymphoma and one was Hodgkin's lymphoma. So the second one, after he went into remission, came when he was 42. So that one is the one that took him out,
Was he receiving treatment? Where?
So
How?
Parkland.
At Parkland.
Dr. Barrymore at Parkland. At the time, they didn't really know a lot, about Hodgkin's lymphoma. And he took me into the hallway one time and told me that it was caused from stress.
Aw.
Yeah. So, being with a single dad, it just kind of felt like, oh, we caused this stress.
Yeah, that's a lot for a 14-year-old.
Yeah, I didn't know this was going to get all emotional.
Back to construction. You just don't know. See?
Yeah. So, anyways, when I was 18, we shut the plumbing company down, and my uncles both had their own plumbing companies.
Well, let me rewind. So you're a 14-year-old girl. You're working in a salon. You're going to school. You're taking care of your baby sister, who's how old at this time?
I had Rachel, so she was 4 years younger than me.
Okay.
And my mom had Amber.
So you've got this 10-year-old little sister, and you're running a plumbing company. So you had like plumbers working for the company, and you would tell them, this is the order, go here, this is what you have to do. And this little girl is telling these plumbers where to go and what.
Right. So essentially we had a board, and we wrote out all the invoices the night before, put all the invoices, all the calls on a board, and then whoever is first gets to choose their calls.
Yeah.
So the guys would try to get in early. Now, I'd known these guys my whole life, They were there since I was 8 years old, running around. So
they knew your story. They knew Dad passed away.
Right.
Were they sympathetic, and were they kind?
they were very respectful guys. One of them, still checked on me up until he passed away about 10 years ago. So, family.
Right.
So we closed the plumbing company down. I went into fire inspection, I think, next. Stayed there for a little while, and then went into roofing. No, other way around. Roofing, fire inspection. And then I went into parking lot striping and asphalt, TxDOT, building roads, stuff like that.
Oh, wow.
That was horrible.
But I'm sure you learned so much
I did.
about that side of construction.
Yeah, so much. And
Foundation.
right, even stuff like Davis-Bacon wages. I'm not sure I'm getting that right. Maybe other way around. Anyways, a lot of book work, a lot of, stuff that you have to deal with TxDOT. So that was horrible, so I wanted to get out of that. So I started applying around. I found a place over by Vidora.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah. You told me about this.
Yeah, right down the street from there. And I went in. I knew nothing about tenant finish out. but they had a position open for doing bookwork, answering phones, doing all this. I told him, this isn't exactly what I want to do, but I want to get my foot in the door. And he's like, how much do you need to make a year? I said, 50,000, just throw it out there. I had no idea. He's like, how much is that an hour? I said, okay, let me take my calculator. And he's like, okay, sure. I said, I need to work my way up from there. So he was like, that's fine. Let's see what you can do. I hate being in the office, right? I hate being tied to a desk. Yeah. So he took me out to lunch to go see some of their places. They had just finished a remodel on Henry's Tavern, which is...
I remember, yep.
Yeah, over in Legacy. So the first remodel, we ended up doing 5 remodels. So he takes me over there and we're eating lunch. And I started looking up at the ceiling and there's still blue painter's tape. There's just a lot of little things. So I started pointing them out, and he's like, okay, yeah, you're right about that. Starts calling the guys. Hey, I need you to come back, fix this. So a couple weeks later, he's like, so here's the thing. You're too pretty to be out in the field.
Sure.
So I stopped wearing makeup. I stopped doing my hair. I started just, being the way y'all see me usually now.
It's so
beautiful. Well, thank you. So he let me out in the field after I stopped wearing makeup and doing my hair and all those.
So he told you you're too pretty to basically go into this male-dominated field.
Right.
Because what? It was going to be a distraction or something?
Yes. So we end up hiring my husband as one of the electricians. So then...
Your now husband wasn't husband.
Still not husband, but
How long marriage, baby?
Okay. We've been together 12 years. It counts. It counts in Texas. So we hired him. So he was out in the field too. So Hugh felt a little bit more comfortable, letting me out around all the guys. So then I became project manager. And that's where I really found my groove and what I really love. To see a piece of concrete when you walk in this place and to just see a blank slate and watch as it goes up and what's being built and what the transformation is, it's just one of the most exciting, gratifying things I've ever done.
Yeah.
Same thing with, doing what we're doing now.
Yeah.
From
The
ground
before and
up
after. Yeah,
to
look at this
remodels.
house. Yeah.
Look at this. I remember this house and exactly what it looked like.
I know, me too. Yeah.
And
There was a wall here,
there
and
was
a wall there.
Yes.
And it had wallpaper everywhere.
Yeah.
Everywhere.
Kitchen was
I
brown.
actually kind of like some of the wallpaper.
I know you do. We struggle with that. We
Yeah.
struggle with that. Yeah.
Yeah. No, yeah. Yeah.
So that was my background.
It's just most women in construction. Okay, I think I read a stat. It was 12% of women in construction work in the back office. Right? They're not out on the field.
Yeah.
They're not in the field. Probably for that very reason, right? It can be distracting. It's a male-dominated field, and they're working in the back of the house. But you despised working. You wanted to be on.
I need to be in the field. I cannot be sitting in an office looking at the same 4 walls.
She just drives from project to project all day long, just checking status, calling all the trades, making sure things are done correctly.
And here's the thing, you're such a perfectionist, okay? You see things that none of us see, and it drives these guys crazy. Because you'll walk in and be like, that baseboard is a 1/4 of an inch off in that section. And I mean, that means a lot of work for them, and it's annoying for them. But I feel like because you're a woman, you see all of those little details and those imperfections, and it's so great for the end product, you know?
Basically what happened was Sarah and I walked in and we were like, wow, this is so beautiful. This house looks great.
And I'm over there like, oh.
Treva literally started to cry. And she was like,
wait, which house is
that? Ditmar.
Oh, yeah.
And she started crying. This was after some box wine.
Yeah.
And we were cleaning the house because we were going live.
Ooh, that box wine.
And we were like super excited because we're like, this house looks great. And she's like, you guys don't see what I see. And she started crying. And I'm like, this woman's crazy. And she's like, look at this. Look at the texture. Look at the difference. These lights don't line up perfectly.
Oh, my God. What a perfectionist.
I mean, it was nuts. And I just, you're always like that. And I gotta talk about the story of how I met Treva.
Yes.
Because it's really funny. So I was working on a beautiful renovation in Prestonwood Estates, and I thought that it was just like the cutest house ever, and I needed some work done towards the end. So the GC at the time, well, he wasn't actually the GC per se.
Yes,
He was.
Yeah.
We
They were
actually
your
did.
whole
That's right. It was
crew
like
at the time.
Yeah. No. I hired a team that was horrible.
They were still GCs. They were GCing the place.
Yeah, but I called up Elwin because I was like, I need you to come help me because I hired these guys and they obviously don't know what they're doing because there were so many things that kept going wrong at this house. Mm-hmm. And so Elwin came in and I was like, look, I need an electrician, like a proper electrician. There's some electrical work that needs to get fixed because these general contractors hired these unlicensed like subs that were horrible. Okay. Mm-hmm. So he's like, don't worry, I got this. And he calls in Treva and her husband Clint. And now they're there to give me an electrical bid to hang some light fixtures or whatnot. Okay. She comes in and I'm like, hi, so nice to meet you. Oh my God, I can't wait. And I'm thinking, this house is like hot shit. You got to come check this out. Like, and I'm like, what do you think? What do you think? And I'm like, look at the Zalige, look at the custom cabinets, look at the detail on the ceiling. And, and she's like, okay. And then when we were done, I was like, hey, can you just give me a quote for the electrical? She goes, oh, honey, you've got way bigger problems than electrical stuff. And I'm like, okay, what do you mean? And she was like, first off, this entire wall is crooked. And I'm like, what? She's like, you don't see that the wall is actually bending down and not going straight. That's like the first thing you see. She's like, was there a beam, and how big was the beam that was put here? And I was like, oh God, my heart dropped. Mm-hmm. And then she starts walking around. She's like, look at this texture. This is horrible. She's like, they need to caulk. There's caulk missing. She's going into the bathroom. She's looking at the tile work. And then she couldn't hide her facial expression. So I kept looking over at her like, what does she see in this room? And I would look at her eyes and she's like, and then she'd do this like eye pop. And I'm like, oh God, what's wrong with this room? And then finally I was like, look, can you do me a favor? Can you give me a punch list, like a blue tape punch list? Mm-hmm. I'm going to tell these guys that the owner came in and will not pay you your final payment unless we address these issues.
3-page punch list.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So Tree was like, sure. So she went, did that. I called the guys and I was like, hey guys,
I remember this.
I'm like, the owners.
This was a condo, right?
No, this was a red cedar. Oh, it was a beautiful house.
The red cedar.
Yes.
Oh, there were so many things. Yeah.
And we don't deliver bad products.
No.
We wanted it to be good.
We were using some new guys.
And these new guys completely screwed me up. So anyways,
that kitchen was amazing.
Yeah, it was beautiful.
Well, Edgar did the kitchen.
So that's why I
that
thought
part was amazing.
Yeah, that's why I thought that it was Edgar. It was actually, it was like I was a hodgepodge of contractors that I put together.
Yeah,
is what happened because things were just always moving so slow. And when you're flipping houses, it's the expedience. It's how fast can you go. But when you hodgepodge a bunch of trades together, what happens is they're working on top of one another. They're all blaming each other for things that are going wrong, and it just turns into a big nightmare. So these are all the lessons that you and I learned as we went along. But what I learned most on that lesson was that I needed a Treva in my life. So I basically called up Elwin and I was like, what does she do? He's like, she ain't doing shit right now. He's like, she's doing some gardening and she's at home. She helps her husband once in a while. He's like, but I don't think she's looking.
Retired.
Yeah, she's like, I don't think she's looking for a job. And I was like, okay. I was like, man, at that point I had like 4 projects going, okay? And I was just like at the peak of my flipping career, where I realized that flipping is where it was at. There was no inventory, so we would buy these ugly houses, create this inventory, and then we put them on the market and sell them for multiple offers. So even if we blew the budget, it was okay. We'd price the house accordingly. And if it looked good, and if the quality was done the right way, people will pay over ask for those products. But if it looks like this, flipper came in here and just did, put some lipstick on a pig, it wouldn't sell for the same. So I understood that. So I basically called Treva and was like, So what are you doing like in life right
So
now?
I wasn't looking for a job, but she's like, I'm like, what do you need? Tell me exactly what you need. She's like, I don't know. I've had these plumbing fixtures in the back of my car for 2 weeks. I haven't been able to get them to the plumber. I just need somebody.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay. My mother-in-law had passed. That was the whole reason I was retired, to stay home with her, garden, enjoy her retirement. So I was like, okay, give me the name of the plumber. Give me where he is. She's like, his name's Eric. I'm like, that's my plumber. What are you talking about? Like,
Because you work with Eric in commercial, or
Yeah, so Elman hooked me up with Eric.
Right,
So
right.
everything was related at one point.
So
right?
let's get to Ditmar. How did Ditmar?
Well, this is how Ditmar came up.
right. Okay. So we went to bid 4 jobs that day. We went to bid Ditmar, Voss, South Point, and right. But you came in at South Point and you're like, so I just want to open this wall and I want my Bena hood right here and I want this. And I'm like, what? I'm the electrician. What is she talking about? Like, I have no idea who this crazy bitch is.
And the things that I would say, I swear, she can't help her facial expression. I'll never forget. She would always do this. I pop. I'm like, this white girl thinks I'm crazy. And I can tell she can't hide her facial expression.
So now I know her and I know she's crazy. Right? Like, it's totally different. So
You had a hunch before.
I had a
Then you
hunch.
jumped right in. Any regrets?
So we go to Ditmar, we're looking around there, then we go to Voss, South Point, and I'm like, okay, if I'm gonna bid y'all's job, I need to see the finish out. I'm still just talking about electrical, right? Square plugs, what type of can lights, stuff like that. So then I went to Red Cedar. She's doing the open house, and I'm like, oh, this crazy bitch I met earlier. And then
Yeah, no, and I was like, listen, I'll pay you per job to come in and do like quality control and just make sure that things are done the right way and hold these subcontractors accountable. And the funny thing is that whenever Treva would come around, these big Mexican or Colombian dudes would just look at her and they're like, what is she doing? Like telling me what to do. And she's like, guys, this needs to be a 220 amp. Where are the specifications for the oven that's going here? What is
Yeah,
this?
I mean, they
it
cringe
was-
when you walk in.
they all cringe.
They have to go. They can at least then. We've learned a lot now from you, but things could fly over our head. They could bullshit a lot of the stuff
Right.
we're doing, and we wouldn't, know.
Wouldn't pick up on
Yeah,
it.
she'd walk into a laundry room and I'd be like, look how pretty the tile is, and we're gonna do a chandelier. She's like,
Where's your dryer vent?
to the exterior.
Like,
But I'm like, but the
Kind
tile.
of important. And
it's so pretty. I'm like, but it's not functional.
definitely the missing piece
Was the mechanical knowledge.
Yes, all of the
All
mechanical.
the MEPs. She knew it all.
She knew it all. But when you walked into Ditmar, that was a project that we were doing together. It was a huge Preston Hollow tornado torn home, and we fell in love. It was a single story on half an acre, over 6,000 square feet. It was my dream home.
Gosh, in hindsight, you guys, we
should've bought
could
that house.
No, we don't. You know what we could have done?
Yeah.
We could have totally just wiped that house out. And started
No,
over
we didn't
again.
want to. We talked about that. A few people came and they told us they wanted us to wipe it. But
Yeah.
we loved, first of all, the integrity of the home was good. It was the bones on that house were amazing.
But I'm talking about what happened after.
Yeah.
Remember the plumbing?
Oh, for the price that we paid, we could have wiped it.
We
for
could
sure.
have wiped it and started over
but we
again.
learned, how much did we learn from that
I mean,
project?
that house I think was definitely the house that taught us the most. Right?
So this giant, amazing home, moved the kitchen from the back to the front. Huge project.
Get rid of all this beautiful paneling.
Oh my
All
gosh.
this wine room. Like, I thought you were out of your mind at first.
Yes. But
Until you saw the.
until you saw that we did
Yeah.
the finished product, and it was
How
like
much
the
did
most
the
amazing.
appraiser give us at the end for?
We made $500,000 on our appraisal from quality of construction because I would walk in and cry and say, y'all don't see what I see.
And we ended up selling that house for $2.5 million. At that time, that was like 3 years ago. That's a $5 million house.
Yeah.
now.
Yeah, I mean, that was a really
But
big, like,
we became really close
that
through
was
that
where
process.
Right.
we
Because
really
we had
bonded.
so many nightmares in that house. Oh my
I remember
gosh.
you coming in and you would, you were sporadic about coming in. And Ellen's like, look, Sarah is not like Nadia. Do not talk while she is here. You have to shut up. You have to listen, And me, being myself, I just couldn't.
So I think that the respect that a lot of these guys, or lack of, was an issue for a while because people didn't understand what your role was, right? You'd come in and you look like this little Texas girl from Fate, Texas, with your truck, your little beat up Toyota, which is still going.
Still going.
I mean,
I
at
told
least
you I
it
was going to
works.
drive it till the wheels fell off.
You
and
told
they
me that.
fell off three times now.
Yeah. So literally, like, you'd come in and they'll be in the middle of doing something, and you're like, hold on, this is incorrect. How many times do people not listen to you? And then tell us what goes on there.
They always have to correct it.
And how
I
much does it
don't want to
cost?
say I'm always right, but like 90%
of the time.
But what also helped was having the guys that I'd already had before. So these guys that had been under me in the commercial world in tenant finish out, just like having the plumber there, Eric. There's these guys that already knew what I was capable of, already respected me. And so that kind of started flowing through to the Lullos and the different painters and, the people that didn't really know me at the time.
But you really have to, as a woman, you have to fight to earn that respect.
100%.
And whereas if a man walks onto a job, automatically he's already got the credit. It's like, who's the boss? Oh, that guy. Okay, right? Who's the boss? Oh, that woman over there. Psh, what does she know about construction?
Yeah, 100%. I feel like that is probably the main reason why I don't like using new people, and that we've kind of been stuck in, even though sometimes we're
You
held.
don't have to reestablish the credibility.
We get
Right.
held hostage a little bit sometimes when people get complacent, or maybe they start to take for granted certain things. Okay. We still will take that over working with a brand new crew, where, like, when I walk on a job site, the builder's looking at me like, who are you and why are you here telling me what to do and how to do my job? And I'm like, I actually have done quite a few projects with Treva before, and we actually do know what we're talking about. And guess what? I've actually started becoming right a lot of the time.
I am surprised how much y'all.
Yeah. You have taught us, I would say, the reason for us being one of the top teams in North Texas is because of the education that you have given us in construction. So that has trickled down into us being able to attest and sit in developer meetings and talk price per square foot, talk mechanicals. I actually, Sarah and I have written specifications for these builders, and when
Understanding the impact that it has on the bottom line, the cost differences, what it's going to do to the process of the construction, what comes first, right? And that has been hugely helpful. Whenever I have an inspection report, and those things can be 60, 80 pages long, and I am completely perplexed. I call up Treva and I'm like, what does this mean? Yeah. And just having you there as a resource it's been a game changer, because
But there's a lot less calls these days.
there are because
Really, because we walked the house the other day and you're like, oh, there's an FPE panel. Y'all know to now ask about aluminum wire and cast iron plumbing and all those big hitters.
And I want to talk about that too, because I think that this will be very beneficial to our audience. I think a lot of people think that, they see these beautiful before and afters and they're like, oh, it's so pretty. And, I can do that. I'm a good designer. I can figure out how to, take a property and turn it from an ugly property to a pretty property. And then you see a lot of these homes, even though they look really great in pictures, they're just sitting, because people understand, most people will understand, especially second-time home buyers and stuff, that when they walk through a property, what the difference is between a shoddy job and quality construction.
Right.
And we've gone through a lot of crazy scenarios where maybe we didn't change the cast iron plumbing, and that meant that it could not pass inspection. So we had to go back and rip out all the plumbing
flooring,
and reroute everything, and then go and do all the plumbing. I mean, these could be $60,000 to $100,000 mistakes. What are some of the common mistakes that you see in flip properties that investors make or flippers make, that can be the biggest impact on their bottom line.
Not checking for aluminum wire, not checking for the cast iron plumbing. Both of those things are at the end of their lifespan now, right? Yeah. So
Tell us a little bit about cast iron plumbing and why it's so important to check that out. That's the first thing we do on a house that was built before the, in the 80s
we won't
and
even
before.
half the time we won't even buy the house unless the spread is
but
really
now
good.
we change it out automatically.
Yeah.
Y'all both
We
know
put it
that.
into the bid.
Yeah.
If it's got cast iron, why? What's the deal with cast iron?
We sat there at one of our properties for hours upon hours upon hours looking at the shit camera, the camera that goes down the sewer.
Just looking at
the
shit
line.
floating by. That was
Right.
disgusting. I remember that.
Over and over and over again. And the thing is with the sand and with this Texas dirt, it looks like the pipe is still together, right? Even on the camera, because it has taken that shape. So even if it's the black dirt or the sand, you won't be able to tell on camera. And sometimes it'll even, what we call pass a hydro test, because it's so compacted. And you don't really know until a paper towel gets lodged in there or a flushable wipe. There's no such thing as flushable wipes.
Oh my God, I learned that the other day from Treva.
Do not flush your wipes. It doesn't matter.
It does not matter if it reads
Remember the
flushable
towels
wipe,
in the house where we found a bunch
where
of
the painters.
rags were wiping their butts
Yes.
with paint and flushing them down the toilets. I could not
Construction
believe-
is so disgusting.
It was so disgusting. Remember, it backed up all over the floor. We were in there mopping somebody else's shit water. It was
gross.
It was so gross.
so gross.
But that was getting caught on the cast iron and backing up. So those are the type of things
So
that we've
cast iron
learned.
is coming to the end of its life, right?
Right.
And
Yeah.
so if a property has
There's
that,
no keeping cast iron anymore. There's no, we're going to Band-Aid this, which one of our investors had a property lately and had our plumber out there and wanted to just Band-Aid, let's just add PVC at the problem area. And it's like, no.
And then guess what?
it's
We
gonna
ended up
come
having
back.
to rip it out, redo
all
it
the
anyway.
plumbing.
Yep, came back at the end.
And then, again, that's a huge cost. It's like, I think that's the biggest pitfall. And even with new investors who are like, oh, we're purchasing this house from 1972. And I'm like, does it have cast iron? What does that mean? I'm like, automatically put 50K in your bid.
So we
Put it in your bid and then run your numbers.
So
So the ARV is not what you think it is.
Right.
You know what I mean? Unless you
Now
change
open
this.
up the panel. How
and
much
you're-
aluminum wire is in there?
Okay.
There you go. There's another 20.
Tell us about aluminum wiring real quick, the difference between what we should look for.
So it's kind of hard for a lay person to go out and look for aluminum wire. I still don't think y'all go out and look for aluminum
difference.
wire. So yeah,
She takes a screwdriver in the middle of a showing while people are still living there, and she's in the corner unscrewing.
and Melanie comes in. What are you doing?
She's like, I gotta check if it's aluminum wire
Because
before I
what kind of a price? I mean, what does that do to the
like a $20,000
rental budget?
So we had one right,
$20,000.
South Point, that we did not redo the aluminum wire on. The guys that did the actual electrical work, I don't remember
Who it was. It's okay.
Anyways, they didn't use the appropriate aluminum wire plugs, right? There's plugs that are made for this, that you don't have to have the purple wire nuts and the deox and all that kind of stuff. So they didn't do that, even though we had told them over and over again, you have to put this in your bid, you have to use this. So it comes back at the end that they didn't use the appropriate. Those purple wire nuts, they were $6 a piece at one point. It's almost cheaper to rip out all the wire and rewire the house at that point.
Exactly.
But what happens is you get copper and aluminum together, right? And people not using deox, and then it oxidizes and it becomes a problem.
But I think that so people, what people do and what flippers do is they'll be like, I'm going to bring my GC or whoever with me, unless you have worked with this person in the past, and unless they are someone who actually cares about seeing the sale all the way through, not just getting paid for the construction and then bouncing, right? They don't really care about what's going to happen when you try to resell this and it comes
Right.
back on inspection, which is why it is so crucial to make sure that you have a Treva, if you can find them, they're far and few between, good luck. but with you, somebody who you can trust, who's going to advise you correctly because she understands
that the integrity of the home and the structure and making sure that it doesn't go up in flames and
Exactly.
their
safety concerns.
safety
So
is
we've
huge.
got, so what are the two? We've got the cast iron plumbing. We've got the aluminum wiring.
foundation.
Federal Pacific
Fed
panels.
pack.
Okay,
Yeah.
so they lost their UL listing, and now if your wire overheats, there's a good chance that breaker's not going to flip. So when we get done at the end of doing one of these remodels or flips, I have to be able to sleep at night. I have to know that the people that are moving into the home are safe.
Yeah.
Right.
And niche. How do I put this? We're gonna have to cut this part and read it. Niche's name is on the line.
Right.
Yeah.
And to me, that's very, very important that we're selling quality products, especially something that we've got our hands into and gotten our hands dirty.
Well, because we might have to sell that house when the clients come back one day. Right?
Let's talk about how many we've done that we've sold and then had to resell later.
We sold Crown Hill twice.
Yes. So we have to be confident in the construction.
Yeah, and guess what? We missed, and she said it. We missed the HVAC.
I remember that.
And later on, my client came back and he was like, "Y'all sold this house to us, knowing that these should have been changed, that they were close to the end of its life. How much did our company?" So Treva and I have blends. We do consulting and construction, and that's where we run our construction. We had to take a hit. Blends had to take a hit on that $20,000 hit because of we were reselling it again. Now, did we make commission the first time? Yes. Did we make commission the second time? Yeah. We just ended up making much less. Like we gave away.
But look,
chunk
I
of
mean,
it,
looking
you know?
at that, you did not have to do that, but you did that because we have to put our
'Cause it
head
was
on
the right
pillow.
thing to do.
It was the right thing to do. Yeah. It is the right thing to do. We do answer the phone when our former clients call us. It's very hard because construction when you're dealing with older homes, it's also unfair for us to catch everything.
Right.
We are not building this house from scratch.
Right.
So if we get a call later on where somebody's like, "Well, you did this and now the door is not," well, that I can't control the dirt and the irrigation.
Or we
around
never touched the
home.
plumbing in that part of the
that
wall. So there's
yeah.
no way that we could have known
Yeah.
that there was any kind of leak if nothing indicated it. You did a leak detection test. Did you detect it? There's only, we do our due diligence, right?
There's only
And
so much we
that
can do.
control.
But I will say for the most part, Treva gets stuck in a lot of houses and she can't get out of them because people call her.
Well, she's too nice.
Yeah,
We
she's
gotta
really nice
work on it.
Yeah, but also I think that if it wasn't for the fact that we were those people, then we wouldn't get phone calls like I got the other day. So I got a phone call the other day. Somebody went to one of my listings and she calls and she's like, "Hi, this is Trisha. I don't know if you remember me, but you and Treva," nobody can say her name right.
The Prestonwood house over
Desiree.
Desiree.
She goes, "You guys did the deal with me over on Desiree." She's like, "I just saw one of your renovations, and can I just tell you, you guys always do a phenomenal job, and you are so sweet and amazing, and you girls, I hope you're still doing well." That was the call that we got, that we were so nice because after they moved in, there was so little things that popped up, and Treva was there, made sure that they had the name of the paint, made sure they have.
Yeah.
People are they're so weary of the people who did their construction, right? And they like you would think that they are not going to rely on you. A lot of the time, that's what happened. You're like, I don't even want to deal with that person with renovations, right?
Well, look what
but they lean on you. They lean on you because you build that trust with them, and because if something is wrong, we fix it.
But we've got great. I feel like we've got such a great book of references. Can I just say, the investor that we bought all those houses when you went to go see South Point, Voss, and Red Cedar. So this is a good shout out to my one of my clients. His name is Hader, and his wife Uzma. We were hanging out a week ago, and Hader said something to me. He said, he's like, "You do realize that we purchased the first 14 properties and I never actually met you in person, you and Treva?"
Yeah.
And I thought about it and I was like, this fool bought all those houses sight unseen and literally trusted everything that Treva and I did and would have phone conversations with Treva because I couldn't speak construction. I could speak real estate all day long, but I couldn't speak construction.
Yeah.
And now years later that we don't work together as often, but years later he said something to me and he's like, man, what you guys do, he's like, it is not easy. It is not easy. We put in our...
Finally, he realizes.
Yeah. It's like,
It's easy when
we have our in-house team now. And I'm like, there's something that is to be said about not only understanding the construction, but there's also the design aspect that Sarah and I bring in. And you now have...
This entire
Paquita.
house, we did together.
Yeah.
Treva and I
But
designed
you
It was
left a
so
lot
much
of the
fun.
design stuff up to her at some
for
points,
sure.
right?
Because I don't have to. She's like, I want to do this, and we're gonna use champagne bronze, and these are the pulls. What do you, and I'm like, yeah, couldn't have chosen better myself. Go for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, the same way you taught us construction, design. She goes to Floor and Decor now, and she'll like, I'm here. What do you want me to get? I'm like, I don't know. Fix it. Figure it out. Like pick a tile. And then she's showing me pictures of what
Or she'll be like, you want black Schluter on
Are
this.
you sure?
And I'm like, no. I guess I don't want black Schluter. What's Schluter again? Oh, yeah.
What is Schluter?
Remind me which Schluter I
she
want.
calls me. She calls me. She goes, she's like, are you going to Floor and Decor? I'm like, yes. I'm gonna get a tile for the whole house. She goes, make sure you get the mortar and the grout. And I'm like, okay. And the Schluter. I'm like, ew, I don't want to get those things. I just want to pick the pretty tile.
Wants to do the tile. And I'm like, no, we're saving on delivery. We're not going back to pick up little things.
Yeah,
You have to
She's
do
like,
it
just
while
pick
you're
it all
there.
up right now. Get it.
And that's another thing. You're so budget conscious, and that really, I mean,
It's being raised by a cheap father.
yeah.
Yeah.
We always joke that I am brown on the inside. Like I'm the cheapest out of all of
So
them.
she's the opposite of a coconut. What fruit is that?
I don't know. We still haven't figured it out, right?
Brown on the inside, white on the outside. Hey, this is for all of your listeners. If there's a riddle that needs to be solved, we need to figure out what Treva is the opposite of a coconut. Let's figure that out.
What fruit am I today?
It doesn't have to be a fruit. It could be a bonbon.
It can't be a bonbon.
Yeah, I don't know.
Oh,
Bonbons
that's
are
bougie.
not.
I don't know
Why
what
don't
that
I-
is.
know what that
All right, anyways.
Bonbon.
Anyway, all right. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to sit with us
of
today.
course.
I'm sure there's so much that we can talk about.
Oh, one more thing. I have to
yes.
give Treva a huge shout out. Treva is just in the ending stages of assisting on one of our largest build jobs. I did a lot of the design, but Treva has worked extremely hard, and
It's a massive house.
The appraisal came in, and it was like over 1.5 million above what market value is. The house is absolutely stunning. It's
10,000
like-
square feet, but
no, I think it's more than that. With 2 pools and the man cave and an inn cave. I mean, it's a really large project, and I'm really, really like excited to show everyone what it looks like.
Yeah, you should be proud.
But you,
I am proud.
Yeah,
You guys should both be
you
proud of
have
yourselves.
really worked hard.
A round of applause.
And that is I would say that is like, what did we do all this hard work for? We've done we keep counting, we're losing count, but we're going to do a count. But I think we're right around 65 home renovations. And that's not including the chunk that Sarah has also done. That's
Right.
just blends, right? But with Niche and the team, there's more. So we do have to count one day. But to get a build job, a ground up of this caliber, and once you guys see this finish out, I mean, I'm really proud of you. You deserve it. And, I can't wait to do more with you.
Same.
Awesome.